All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. Okay, look at some of my awesome guitars. Got a 7-string, an 8-string, a couple of 6 strings, and my bass too. Okay, this discussion is the discussion of the discussions of discussions. And you can see I'm now going into week 2 of owning a drum kit. And for my first, I actually like the way I just set it up here. I like that low, sleek profile, that openness that you get. It's like it makes, even though the footprint is actually technically larger, it seems like it's going to be way more ergonomic. And secondly, quicker and easier to set up. And thirdly, you can see the drummer. It's like, okay, there's a drum kit there, but is there a band member? Yeah, no, there is. It doesn't look like it would work, but I think it's going to work absolutely dandy. Now, I've only got the one cymbal right now. Well, if you don't count the hi-hats. Those are 14-inch hi-hats, and they don't seem too far away. And in fact, from a recording point of view, that's probably about the distance you'd want to be. I might lower the hi-hats a little bit if I can, and maybe shrink them up a bit too that way. I've been trying them at different levels. Again, this is only my second week playing drums, so again, go over my history of drums. It's basically, I took drums in high school, diddle on the drums throughout the 90s with some band members and stuff like that, but I never really played drum. I'm a guitar player first, so this is the longest I've ever really put on drums. I've recorded with them twice. Yes, the past 2 songs I was a little sloppy on, but I was just, wanting to get those songs out there. That said, this drum kit actually, even I do have a compressor in there for drums and guitar, vocals, everything like that. Like, this is an entire studio in one. It's quite amazing what it has in there. It also has EQing, and you can't get $1 million studio sound out of that, but you can get the drums to sound pretty big even with just these 2 mics. So I have the SM58 over there, the SM57. Okay, so that said, week 2 of the drums. I've now altered these drums about 4 times, but there's just one drum that really makes everything awkward, and that is the 12x9. And I'm sure most drummers will probably agree, this tom is just, what is it? Like, where do you put this thing? So when you get a traditional drum kit, you got the 2 toms here, floor tom over there somewhere, and the snare and the hi-hat, a little closer in, but otherwise the same. But there's a problem, especially if you have a full-size drum like this. This is 22-inch by 18, which is problem number 1. Now, if you have one of those Gretsch kits with a 24-inch drum, I mean, that's another 2 inches. It's shallower. I think they're only by 16, so it'd be, well, from here to here. So you get a full-size tom like that, the darn thing's going to be this high. You know what I mean? So you could see right away, if we look at the top of that, it's about 3 inches, 3 inches lower by putting it off to the side, okay? But when it was here, it's like I say, you're going to be about, because you want some gap, you don't want a thing touching the shells. It seems like you can't get the right angle on it. So either you have to angle them too much this way when it's here to keep them low enough, but it's just, I don't like angling the drums that much, right? And the smaller one, which is a 10x8, I think 8 inches is as thick as you can go above the drum, bass drum, unless you got a smaller bass drum like a 20-inch or an 18-inch or 16-inch, then no problem, because then you can just lower everything down, then it doesn't matter. But if you try to put these 2 over here and to match those 2 up, you're up here, so you're that much higher, which means you're that much further than your snare. So you're here, right? You have to be back here because your leg's right there. So you have to be back here. So your snare's all the way over there. Like, I didn't move this snare at all today. Basically, I moved everything around the snare. So moving this off to the side, it lowers the drums down a lot, which brings your stand out, so it's not awkward to get into the kit. Like, it's completely, you just set your drum down, set your snare where you want it, and then set this close to that. Very, very nice. But now you've got a gap between here and here, which is not that bad, because the gap between here and here, if this is where the tom was, right? I still have to have this thing back a bit further. Anyway, like pretend the snare's not there, but the other tom, if it was here, because of the stand, right, I can't bring the stand in quite that close with the tom on it. The stand has to be up and whatever, and it kind of keeps that floor tom back further. So yeah, what do you do with this tom? Because it is an awesome sounding tom. I did try this also in between, kind of using off of that stand there, which I originally had, one tom per stand. But what I did was I took that tom and I placed it in between this and the kick drum, using it kind of like a floor tom, which actually kind of worked pretty well. And then that the smaller tom was able to get more centered on the drum kit, but then again, I'm still high, right? I was still close to the snare, but not as close as I would like to be. I think this is the most ergonomic. Yeah, so what do you do with the 12x9 snare? What do you do with it? I do like the sound of it, and I think I'm going to tune it lower to kind of more mimic a 13-inch floor tom. And I think that would sound cool, but I don't know. I'll see. But the nice thing is like, I mean, I know there's 15-inch toms. Again, those things, putting those over the drums, you'd be way up here. Like, how do you play that, right? Yeah, I think this is a cool way to set up the drum kit. It kind of solves a bit of this problem to get things lower. Like I say, the top of the, the top of the drum's about there, so I'm already about 2 or 3 inches lower by going off to the side. So I think that's one way to deal with the 12x9 or 12x10 tom. But anyway, I'd like to hear your suggestions. Like, I do notice a lot of, even the metal drummers, a lot of them are just ditching this thing because they just don't know where to put it. It's just, it gets everything too far away. So anyway, yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' take on the 12x9 tom. What do you think of it? How do you use yours? Do you try to gear it down more like a floor tom, or do you just kind of leave it where it is? Yeah, just have that kind of discussion. Yeah. So I think this is a good solution for the floor tom, for this tom here, because then, you got your upper toms, you can sound good, you can do fast, fills and stuff like that, and fast rolls and fills and whatever, and you get to bring in again the floor tom. And if you have 2 floor toms, now your second floor tom's not even further back, because nobody likes to play behind them, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, there we go. So yeah, what do you guys think about the 12x9 floor tom?